any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I whip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
Yeah, you better listen. I'm bringing heat, you'll be a fan when I start rapping. Way I'll have your fucking head spinning. I'm known as spit vicious, release bombs and go tick tick. Boom, you blown me that head missing. I'm a phenomenon, stacking cheese like it's Parmesan. 8 different flows, call me Octomom. I'm moving fast like the Autobahn, and I'm independent, so I'm not your fucking starving like it's Ramadan. Sick, twisted, gifted, can't copy, printed, can't hold me down. I shape shift, I'm liquid. I killed this beat, I might get convicted. They know how I move, it was predicted. Persistent, spoke it into existence, so consistent, no assistance. Hear me once, become addicted. If I rap it, then I live it. There's no cap when I be speaking this.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
This product is brought to you by Unknown Brain. Thank you for listening. Love you all.
Holding on to what I know, to everything I've learned. What is real and fabricated? What is wrong? What is my problem? What can I get out of this world that I created? Fighting the storms in my head. Don't know where I have been. I'm alone, no one to turn to. No one understands, shit's too complicated. Away, and I feel like I am someone else. Away, and I feel like I don't know myself, no. Away, and I feel like I don't know my name. And I don't want to live this way. I don't want to keep on wasting a life. I'm drowning in my head, I'm losing the mind. And if you could know, yeah, if I could show you, I don't wanna keep on living this life so faceless.
Unknown Brain, Marvin Devine, and we back.
Can't nobody tell me nothing. Made it through the wind and rain. I turn nothing into something. No more dealing with their assumptions. Cause I do what I gotta do and I know, can't nobody do it like me. All they do is judge me for who I might be. Maybe if they took some time to pick my mind to see that I'm cooler than lemons and iced tea. All I wanna do is live it up with the homies. Everybody really talking as if they know me. But I guess I gotta face it. I'm so tired of being faceless.
I don't wanna keep on wasting life. I'm drowning in my head, I'm losing the mind. And if you could know, yeah, if I could show you, I don't wanna keep on living this life so faceless.
So faceless.
I've got a premonition, I'm dreaming you and I. All my darkest fears are coming outside. We got a billion races, we got this melody. And you can trust me, baby, we got everything. Call me whenever you feel alone, babe. And when you need to cry, I'll be by your side. Call me whenever you need someone, babe. And when you need to escape from 1,000 fires, I'm gonna kiss you wherever you are. And I'm gonna miss you, I will never lie. Call me whenever you need someone, babe. We're running in the jungle of love.
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to TTML. We're here for the third season of the TT Masters League Championship. We're going to be running through Division 2's proceedings here tonight for the first round of the championship here in tradition for the Australian Grand Prix. To help take you through the action all the way throughout, which is sure to be another fantastic season of TTML. I am Daniel Hoggard, helping you take you through events, and joining me in the commentary box, not for tonight, at least for the time being. He does seem to be having some connection issues, but it will be Michael Edwards, who of course helped out with these streams last season as well. So let's hope that we can get him in soon enough. The race is very close to getting underway, and my oh my, I'm sure we have a fantastic season ahead of us. 19 drivers occupying the lobby for the moment. And hopefully we get pretty much a full grid for the race when it begins in just a few minutes' time. As I believe we are hopefully getting Michael back in sometime soon, if he can now communicate with us. Mike, I'm just because I'm seeing some messages pop up with PSN parties. Are you here, Mike? That's I think we may have some communications issues, maybe Nat type that's unfortunately stopping him from being able to talk with us again. Hopefully we just sort out our connection issues. But yeah, this unfortunately not the optimal start to the season. Nevertheless, the show must go on then as we will be getting underway extremely shortly. As I can confirm that Mike is getting some having some NAT type issues going on there. But of course, looking forward, we are having to go through the Australian Grand Prix here tonight. Of course, it is sure to be absolutely action-packed all the way through. We have a phenomenal grid of drivers, as I think Mike has managed to get himself into the lobby at the very least. You can see him down there. Maybe as we do begin to ready up for this first event of the season, we have 19 drivers present, and hopefully they put on a great show for us here at Albert Park. We'll be getting a run through of the track very, very shortly as we do begin to ready up then. I'll keep you informed as to whether Mike is going to be joining us for tonight as we begin to count down to the start of the season. You guys know how things run by now. We have an 18-minute qualifying session followed by a 50% distance, 29 laps in this case, at Grand Prix, as we now begin to count down into it then. So, of course, qualifying is going to be next up ahead of us. And we have a grid of 19 drivers all hungry to stamp their authority ahead of the new season. So there we go then. We filter in, about to get loading into what should be a great qualifying session. Expect lap times around about the 1:19 region. That's going to be the target for tonight and what we're going to be seeing. Everyone, I'm sure, eagerly anticipating this. And of course, we'll run through a bit more personally on some of the drivers that we're going to be running through as well, going throughout the rest of this session. So here we are now getting into... Okay. And we're going to get started with qualifying now. So, of course, we are here at Albert Park for the opening round of the TT Masters League, TTML. So here we go now, Season 3 about to get underway here at Australia. You can see the tyre compounds that we have available for the middle compounds, so C2, C3 and C4 compounds of tyres. Of course, the soft, medium, hard, soft being the fastest, but the shortest lasting. 16 corners around this beautiful scenic Albert Park circuit that goes around the Albert Park Lake. You can see it there then. All three sectors, 3 DRS zones then, one between turns 1 and the start-finish straight towards turn 1, one between turn 2 and 3, and a final one between turn 12 and 13 going into that last sector. As you can see then, that long run down towards turn 1 that's going to be seeing, I'm sure, the eyes being caught by the overtaking out there on the track. So though, we're going to get into the action here for qualifying. You can see we have quite an overcast day out there that the drivers are going to have to be putting up with, as we're getting some pretty shoddy camera work there from Codemasters as we now barrel into it, following XL Gary, who of course raced pretty strongly throughout last season, picked up a couple of victories, and will probably be going in as possibly one of the favourites for this season, driving that Williams car. We'll see how he gets on then. His teammate XL Ryan, they shared some phenomenal performances throughout the back end of last season. We'll see if they can shine yet again. It's going to be interesting to track what's going to be the weather patterns throughout this session. Of course, you can see the overcast conditions. So it's a mystery as to whether it's going to dry up, whether it is going to start pouring it down, and early lap times could be very, very important here. Track does look a little bit greasy, so we'll see what the drivers are able to get out of it. So we're now going to follow XL Gary to the start of a flying lap, then tracking the Williams through and round over the line to kick things off for the new season. XL Gary coming over the line. How does he fare with this opening lap then? Coming through, DRS over, getting up to 323 kilometers an hour as he hits the brakes, fifth gear through turns 1, flat out going through turn 2 over the DRS yet again as you barrel down towards the third corner and the first major braking zone on the track for one of the slowest corners on the circuit at turn 3. Short shifting into third gear, then into fourth. That's left-hander at turn 4. Sweep it out then, and you're easily flat going through the kink of turn 5 and into the end of the first sector, the 26-1 for XL Gary. That's not bad, as he does run a little bit wide of the curve, going through turn 6 and 7. long, sweeping right of turn 8 before another braking zone at turn 9 then. You can see him clipping that curb on the inside line, running it back up towards the wall on the outside there. Make sure you're not tapping it, but keeping it nice and clean. Now XL Gary going into this fabulous chicane, going through turns 11 and 12, using as much of the track as he possibly can, opening his DRS for the third time. And that's hot lap as you get onto the brakes yet again in a third gear, short shift to fourth, find traction, going through this all-important last sector where a lot of time been won or lost. Very high speed going through turn 14, then braking into turn 15, clipping the curb on the inside again, short shifting to the line. XL Gary runs it out to the outside curb, and now on the DRS, on the throttle to the line, XL Gary opens up the season with a 119.3 to kick off that opening qualifying lap then. And so Gary getting over the line first. We'll see other drivers coming through then. You can see there, Volakongen, I'm terribly sorry about the way I'm pronouncing that, goes in a third place then as Tionis does replace him into second place for the Norwegian, and B. Morgan going P3, so you can see the lap times coming in thick and fast at this early point of the session. Pretty much everyone going for Sauce, apart from a newly crowned Sprint League champion, Scuba, so we'll see how he can get on with that. Lap times continue to come in there. You can see a legend, I should just say, they're going P5 in front of Ace Noisy. So most of the lap times in the 119s. Gary, though, getting off to a hot start then. But he's got Schmidt and Tionis very, very close behind. You can see on those 19.4s right in contention. So I'm sure that they're going to be seeing a very close qualifying. Maybe some drivers, the fastest drivers, will be getting into the 118s as well throughout the later point of the session. Matty Boss going over the line, that is P5 then in a 119.8, again getting into that range, just in front of Legend. And further back then, we're looking for more drivers to come through. You can see that Cam has unfortunately gone out the session one way or another, so we'll be unable to improve, as we have Emir going into 9th place then, a little ways off the pace, so maybe looking to try and improve further. And I think that was his teammate there, Johansson, going over the line, and that's a much better lap than 119.7, just pepping B. Morgan. The conditions remain overcast, so we'll see how they continue to evolve throughout the remainder of qualifying. If it's going to go raining, if it's going to maybe clear up then, because these drivers should be rushing to maybe get some lap times in the early point of the session before the conditions may well be deteriorating. We have Marjolit now, who's going to go to the pit lane at the end of an invalid flying lap. And I think we're going to be going with his teammate then, IFR Collider. There's a few drivers I'm not familiar with the pronunciation, so I'm terribly sorry about how I may be going with them. But the AlphaTauri going around the final corner does dive to the pit lane. We are, I think, nearing the end of our first runs here qualifying. So Gary getting himself on to that pole position. The first lap in the session so far, the quickest lap in qualifying for the time being. But I'm sure things could very well change. I think we're going to watch Scuba here, who's gone for a very intriguing strategy call with those medium tyres. And so the Red Bull opening up for that flying lap will surely have a bit less grip though going for him. So we'll see how he gets on then. Flying over the line. You'll get up to pretty high top speeds near the end of the straight ahead. 323 again. You're seeing that. They're going to be the highest speed you're seeing all the way around the lap. DRS is open yet again as you come barreling down towards turn 3 on the brakes there. Keep an eye on that line. You can see it's going to be less traction, of course, on these medium tyres. Keeping it nice and steady, rolling out for the Red Bull, and then you're on the throttle yet again. Keeps it flat out going through turn 5. He's still got some grip on him, but you can see he's about half a second down on what Gary was managing through that first sector. You can notice the lack of grip these medium tyres are going to be experiencing, but of course these drivers only get one set of the mediums to run throughout the qualifying session. I think we did see an improvement then. Not exactly sure who that was. I think that may have been Legend going into 4th place then, keeping himself in the mix. We're still watching Scuba though, flying through that chicane. It is a brilliant sequence of corners, it must be said. DRS open for the third time on the lap then, and then on to the brakes. And you can see the difference maybe in gear choices. You see some drivers will be choosing to drop it into 3rd going through turn 13. Others, they will be opting as Corboy's into session. That's coming out at turn 9. Maybe spun it into the outside or inside wall there. It's a difficult traction zone on the way out. The Mercedes though, the second driver for this track to claim victim, it's usually turn 12 that catches people out. Scuba predictably goes a bit lower down the order. Then, as you can see then, coming through the Ferrari of Isotopic, following through then, as I think we had Sway going up in a 5th place then, on the 1:19.686 coming through then. XL Ryan coming up to the line, coming around that final corner now, opening up that exit, and now flooring it through. DRS is open. Gary's teammate pole possession, and Ryan is going to almost pep him 100th of a second in it. Strong lap then from Ryan, who puts himself up into 2nd possession. Lap times, though, are still going to come flooding in, I am absolutely sure. B. Morgan has just started a flying lap, so let's look at the Renault, see how he fares in. Running right to the edge of the track, going through turn 1. Lucky to avoid an invalidation, but he is going to carry on then. Again now, that breaking point in a little bit of a lock-up on the entry, sweeping it into turn 4, running it out to the outside curve, and then through turn 5. You can see him there, nice and flat out there, nice and planted. Low 26s for this first sector. He does put in a not a 126.2, just a 26.2, going into 8th place, but looking to improve very sternly on that lap. He is right on the pace of B. Morgan in that Renault. Now, out of turns 9 and 10, run it towards the outside wall, scoop it back in to the inside line, take the shortest possible run, as now going up towards the outside wall for that chicane. He is nearly 4/10 up. This is a big lap for B. Morgan, and may even challenge for provisional pole position for the Renault. DRS open again, getting himself opened up for turn 13 then, in the 3rd gear, short shift to 4, find that traction. Now open up for turn 14 then, keeps it a bit care, raising all the track. This is really planted so far from Morgan, nice and smooth, going through that final corner, rolling it up to the line. B. Morgan, pole position is XL Gary, 1:19.371 to the line. Morgan pips it by just under a 10th of a second. B. Morgan, a provisional pole position, but we still have a lot of lap times to come in later on.
So let's is purple in sector 1 and 2 right now, coming into the final corner now. Matt Tibos has absolutely been flying on this lap. This could challenge B. Morgan. To the line will come Matt Tibos, and he just squeezes in between B. Morgan and Gary there.
I'll be honest, Mike, I didn't know you had your voice ready, but welcome to the stream, Mr. Michael Edwards. It's great to have you back, as we've been treated to a very thrilling qualifying session so far. But B. Morgan does currently hold that provisional pole. Let's see if he can hold on to it, though, as we did have, of course, lap times coming in earlier on, going throughout things. So Gary running it round, so we'll see what he can do with that. As he heads through now into that turn 6 corner. I'm going to hold it over to you though, Mike, as he's just down on a 10th of a second on pole position, but he's flying first sector. Can the Williams driver get up towards the top of the timesheets there, as they currently in P3, but he was looking to go higher. B. Morgan pole, can he challenge it? Can the Irishman?
Well, we have to wait and see for that. Gary, as you mentioned earlier, definitely someone who could be considered a favourite for this championship. Another name I would see up there battling with him, of course, his teammate Ryan, and of course Scuba, who was more of a reserve last season. He'll be looking to come back and put the pace down, so we'll see how Scuba gets on, as well as Gary, I believe, is coming to the end of his lap now.
Yeah, over the line. How does he do it? Here's an emphatic pull then. 1:19.1. I think, Mike, you are coming through a little bit quietly for me, so I'm not sure if you maybe want to make a little bit of change. I'm not sure if there's a little problem going on with your mic then. Coming up to the line now is George Smith then. Does he challenge pole? Yes, he does! He goes on to pole position now in the Alfa Romeo, and we'll see if he can hold on to it then. We do have just over 6 minutes to go here in qualifying. Another improvement came through. I'm not actually sure exactly who that was. I think that was Isotopic going set for Ferrari. So you can see those lap times flooding in. You got Ace Noisy now going to 8th place. So the lap times are coming flying in. But George Schmidt on that pole position.
How's the voice now? Is it?
It's a little bit better. Yeah, it does seem a bit better.
Right, well, we got Scuba, who's currently on the set of the soft tyre, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. He set that time on the medium, 6 up in the middle sector. We'll see if he can get his way up the order. At the moment, Smith, the man on provisional pole in a 19 flat, and right as you were thinking that we could see some 18s coming out, and I think that is definitely going to be the case now.
Well, let's see if Scuba can challenge that. They're coming around that final corner to the line with DRS open then. He is currently at the bottom of the timesheets. He jumps to the midfield then, a 1:19.5 for the Red Bull driver. He puts himself into contention, I'd say, going into the final stages of the session. We still have a lot more lap times that are going to come in, I suspect, going throughout the remainder of quali. There's a lot that's going to be evolving throughout the remainder of this session. I'm trying to see if who's on a flying lap. I think though we are now sort of in a transition period in the session, as Matt Teboff's gone out then, but very interestingly there, Mike, he's currently sitting fourth. He's got a good qualifying session behind him so far, but he's gone out in the mediums then towards this final stage of the quali session. Very intriguing.
Yeah, very interesting strategy there from the Red Bull. Maybe just going out there, just feeling out the mediums feel on this track. I'm not sure if he'll actually be able to improve on a 19.3 on the mediums. If he does, that'll be some lap from Matt Tibos, but I don't know, maybe a bit of a slipstream for his teammate perhaps.
Yeah, you can see there his teammate just up the road, but Scuba, I wonder if he's going to dive towards the pit lane. Maybe he can just still fit a final run in for himself then. Round the final turn because of Red Bull. I'll leave it to you, mate, to take us through. Actually, no, I won't leave you to take it. 3 times to the pit lane. I think there was a mistake on the tyres then, above all else. So he does dive in. Every single car is pit lane bound, so it's a very quiet point in the session, it must be said. But I'm sure we're going to be getting some action very, very shortly. With York, though, on that pole position, we're going to see if he can hold on to it, because there's lap times, I suspect, from drivers that set the times earlier on in the session, people like Ryan, that can maybe expect a little bit more for these final runs there. These drivers that are going to have a lot more to find at near the end of proceedings here in qualifying. Out the pit lane though, as XL Gary, early pole sitter, fraction of a second off a pole for the moment. We'll see if he can try and move forward with it. The Williams going out on track. The question is on everybody's lips then, for a man that could be a championship contender, can he put it up the front of the grid then, and can he convert that to a race win later on? We're thinking a bit far forward here, but we'll see what he can make of it then. York currently holds pole, Gary right with a bit of a gap down the field, so it could well be those two battling it out. There's still some drivers, I'm sure, that can put up a fight then, but those two Williams boys I think are going to be some of the drivers we're looking out for. See if they can get up the front of the grid. York occupying that pole position, but based off the competitiveness of the grid we've seen so far, he's going to find it very difficult to stay up there.
Yeah, the grid very competitive as it has been in previous seasons here in Division 2, and it's great to see the top 10 only separated by 6 tenths of a second, and I imagine that is going to close down after everyone gets ready to set their final laps. And one person that I think will be looking to set an improvement there, down in 17th place, out on track right now, is Alonso, and he was struggling for qualifying last season, so his qualifying woes carrying on into this season perhaps.
Well, let's see if he can try and turn it around. Minute improvement is already putting up at the 14th place, so he does have some time to fight. Gary, though, coming through. We're going to have a busy end to the session, folks. Here we go. XL Gary now approaching the first corner then. Lot of entry speed there. He's carrying through. He's committed fully as he opens up that DRS for the second time already on the lap then. You can see Matt getting nicely out the way then as he breaks into turn 3. Little walk up of the right front tire. Bit of oversteer as well on the exit, but he uses it to his advantage to open up turn 4 and then sweep it through turn 5 to the end of the first sector. What is going to be that sector time? He is up. He's 300s up on his current lap time, so he is flying now as XL Gary, sweeping it now towards turn 9 on the track then. Braking into third gear, holds it nicely through the apex then, running it out towards an outside wall, and now getting up to high speed yet again. You can see he's about half the way through his battery and about half the way through his lap then. Second sector is quick again. That was a 21.3. He is absolutely on it. He could well be challenging the 118s here. If anything, he should be looking at pole position, but can he keep this going? Can he keep the momentum through this last sector in the lap then as we reach the dying stages in qualifying then? He's got some traffic in front of him. How much is that going to affect it then? He's going to have some turbulent air going throughout this final corner. How committed is he? Runs up to the outside curve then. To the line, Gary, second at the moment. Does he go pole position? Yes, he does. A 118.9, a superb lap then from XL Gary. And we're going to see now if he can hold on to it there, mate, because we still have so many lap times coming in then. This session could evolve so much. Gary on pole, but can anyone else stop him as we reach the final few seconds of this session?
Ryan unfortunately invalidated his lap time. I think he will just have enough time to cross the line to set a new lap, but he is going to be low on ERS come towards the end of his lap, so we'll see if Ryan can improve. But I believe the Renault is the next one across the line, and it is B. Morgan.
Yeah. He was slower in that first sector. He's faster in the middle sector than his personal best. We're going to see if he can try and improve then and solidify that third place. He's not challenged the top two. Out of the final corner comes B. Morgan then. To the lane goes the Renault. He does improve, but not enough to push himself forward on the timing sheets. So Morgan puts himself in a third place, and we're going to look for more lap times to come in then. And we have Ace Noisy coming to the line, and the Alfa Romeo currently 10th, goes in at 8th place. A little improvement, but with the field so close so far, you can see how much of a difference that is making. I think we had Tionis crossing, does go 4th, just in front as we have a Caladra going into 4th place. You can see these lap times coming flying in. We just have a few more drivers to cross the line to wrap up this session. Matt Tebos now coming through 6th place at the moment, stays 6th place. Not much time that he found in that last lap. There's Jorg, improves, and by 4,000 of a second as he snatched pole. Scuba is coming through to the line now. He's currently 12th, goes 10th position, right at midfield. Jorg though comes through and snatches it right at death from XL Gary. Thrilling qualifying session. It was really a battle between those two. Jorg though takes an all-important pole position, and at a track where overtaking is so difficult, that is such a good position to be in for the race.
Absolutely fantastic there from Jorg right at the end. 4 thousandths of a second between them. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, Jorg gets pulled in front of Gary. Wow, that is a battle I'm looking forward to the race there. B. Morgan, a bit on in a slightly of his own world, time-wise, does get 3rd place in front of Caladra. Tionis in 5th place for Matt T-Boss. Ryan, who didn't improve from his banker lap, 7th in front of Legend 8th. Johansson 9th, and Scuba running out the top 10. Free choice of tires will go to Isotomic, Noisy, Margalit, Volakogan, these names are terrible, Sway, Emir, Alonso, Cam and Corboy unfortunately weren't able to get lap times then. We saw them both crashing out earlier on in the session. So there's Jorg on that pole position. Gary is going, I'm sure, to be threatening, and that battle at turn 1 is going to be an absolute joy to watch.
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll see how that is going to unfold. But as we mentioned, of course, earlier, Australia is a difficult track to make passes at. So keep an eye out to see how the drivers are going to be able to fare with making those overtakes. So we'll see how that is going to unfold through and through. As so we're going to be loading in very soon. What else is going to be interesting is the tyre strategies for the race, and so we're going to see as we go into the formation lap here, Mike. Everyone loading in, because it is a track where you can do a one-stop fairly easily. Soft to hard, I think, is usually the strategy, or maybe soft to medium if you want to stretch it. But we're going to see how things are going to unfold here, because as we know, the soft tyres, as is so often the case in this game, not the best race tyres. So people outside the top 10 may well be going for a bit of an alternate strategy, as we're going to see from the tyre choice here. Only one driver outside the top 10 has opted for that softest compound.
Yeah, Volakongan looking to make up some ground pretty early in the race. He will have the advantage of the superior grip early on, but a nice spread outside the top 10 for the mediums and hards.
Yeah, so you've got Isotopic, Margalit, Sway, Cam and Corboy, who of course didn't get times in qualifying. They're all going for that medium compound. The hard compounded tyre is going to be occupied by Ace Noisy, Amir and Alonso. Amir and Alonso, of course, the two drivers in qualifying that capped out the timing sheets then. So they're looking to try and go for something a little bit different to move forward later on in the race. They're going to be going long in that first stint. Of course, everyone inside the top 10 forced onto those soft tyres, and it's a question as ever if they can try and get a gap out. As turn 1 in Australia is very, very difficult to navigate there, Mike, because we both league raced in the past. We know from experience, going to that turn 1, first lap of the season, everyone eager to make an impression can end badly. We'll see how that goes then, but because this track is so tight and so narrow, it's going to be so important for the drivers, particularly in that midfield, to make sure they're keeping it clean, avoiding damage, and being able to build on that for the rest of the race.
Yeah, as you said, turn 1's going to be very crucial, especially it's not really like deemed very tight, but it is quite surprising just how tight it is in turn 1. Very difficult to keep it side by side there, and I'm sure Gary and Jorg are going to be trying to go side by side through there, so we have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to that launch off the line as York's going to guide us through then. Gary, he'll be seething. He had pole position cruelly denied going into the race, and we're going to see if he can make amends here today. And so they come towards the grid then. Jorg, Gary, your front row then. B. Morgan and Kalidra on that second row. We're going to look for that run off the line heading in to the first corner lap then, as now the rear of the grid begins to settle. And now we can prepare ourselves for what will hopefully be a fantastic way to kick off the season. 19 drivers all at the rise in that first corner as we are about to get things underway here at Albert Park. The lights are now coming on now to start season 3. We have 5 lights. And we are away for the first race here in Division 2. Who's got the best start from the front of the grid? Looks like York got away pretty well then. He may just hold on in front of Gary heading into that first corner. B. Morgan gets a good start. B. Morgan, round the outside, runs wide though and losing places already. He's a radio driver. He's been swallowed up by that midfield pack then. Ryan, a good start then. Moving through the field then. He's side by side with Matt T-Boss. As you can see, Williams and Red Bull side by side, but Matt will hold on to that. And talking behind Kaladra, who's also had a good start then. He occupies that third place behind the 2 race leaders as they all battle through turn 5 then, and all keeping their tyres nice and clean, all keeping their front wings nice and clean. You can see them now coming through, no real overtaking spots, and that's midpoint in the lap then. You can see the field all just slotting into single file. Pretty uneventful start actually in terms of the damage. Look pretty clean as I say that. I think that was Scuba running in to the rear wheel of the car in front then of Tiones. We'll see if he's able to try and recover from that then, as actually no, my apologies, Tiones has got wing damage going early on in the race. So Tiones then, you can see there on that end plate, contact with B. Morgan. He's going to be swallowed up surely by this pack then. Scuba is running around his outside much later on the brakes, much more confident, and Tiones has nothing to fight with then. Down the field, you have Cam and Ace Noisy battling away. Of course, Ace on those hard tyres, not quite having the grip to defend. He has to slot back into 14th place as we have Johnson on a 3 abreast in a turn 15. Tiones predictably dies to the pit lane, not the first lap he was after. Everyone else seems to get through cleanly though. And Jorg, great start for him. He's already pulling a second clear. He has jumped well away at the front.
Yeah, fantastic start there from the man in the Alfa Romeo. Clearly taking the advantage early on against Gary, and I mean it was a pretty shocking the first lap there for B. Morgan. Absolutely swamped on the run down towards turn 3.
Yeah, he was very ambitious then, trying to run right outside of Gary at turn 1, just got caught out there, and yeah, unfortunately has dropped further down the grid. You can see him trying to run up to the back of Legend then, but he's going to contend with Scuba, who looks very quick in these early stages. Because of Tiones' damage, those that top 8 on the soft tyres have pulled pretty far clear of the rest of the field, so we'll see what they can make of that. But yeah, particularly those top 2 have checked out somewhat at the start of this race, and they showed the basic qualifying. We know what they have to offer. The question is though about that DRS. It's activated on the next lap when we first brought it into use between turns 12 and 13 on the next lap, and I'm seeing that between Jorg and Gary, they were so close in qualifying, and that gap is seesawing in about 1 second, and it's going to be crucial for Gary to stay in that range. Otherwise Jorg can maybe start to control this race. There, Jorg and Gary, huge bit of a lap ahead of them. They're fighting for that DRS control. Gary getting himself back within it then, but it's an epic and flowing battle, and that DRS with 3 zones around this track plays such a crucial role in the way the races are run here.
Yeah, it is absolutely critical for Gary to stay within that 1 second window, not only to just gain DRS on Smith, but also to not have to use as much ERS as Smith up ahead.
No doubt. Yeah, keep an eye out and see what XL Gary is going to turn up with here. He's 9/10 of that gap there. He did pull it back a little bit at the start of this lap, so he is making progress. Put it back in the grid. Corboy is going in for soft tyres, so I think he must have picked up damage throughout that last lap. As you can see, it's really the top two pulling away, because at the moment, Kalidra in that third place, he's driving, I'd say, solidly enough, but he's unable to quite match the top two as it stands. As now DRS is going to be activated, and Gary is within that range of Schmidt up the road, so he can sort of stay within it, while Kalidra is not having that same benefit. So it means that as he runs in third place, then it's going to be even more difficult for him to stay in contact with the top two then, and he's going to have to worry about Matt T-Boss all the way down to P8 Scuba, because they are all going to get that benefit of that DRS, that rear wing opening up. So third down to 8, that's the battle shaping up there. Behind Isotopic is the leading medium runner, and he's got his teammate Hogan, right with him. As further down the field, Cam's got to the pit lane early, so we're seeing a few drivers coming across early on, maybe getting some damage and having to change up their strategies. But up at the front, Gary has been able to stick with Smith, and you're seeing the evidence overtaking around this track. Pretty difficult. As I say that, Volker Hogan's going to pull to the inside line of his teammate. Isotopic runs it right the outside, can't quite manage it. There's an overtake then in turn 3, and Volker Hogan does get into that 9th place then, trying to run away now on those softs, but because of the chaos at the start then, his gap to the guys in the same strategy further up ahead, nearly 3 seconds. He's got a lot of work to do to get back in this race.
Yeah, Volakongan getting caught out quite early in this race and being stuck behind his teammate for a lap on the alternative strategy didn't really help him out, but Isotopic not really battling Volakongan too hard there, showing the Ferrari teamwork, and now he has to try and hold off Johansson as we see the first of the 3-second time penalties come in.
Yeah, of course, this track is rather punishing on time penalties, so all the drivers going to have to be aware of that there, and Legend picking up that opening one for the McLaren. He's running pretty solidly there in 6th place, holding his own. In fact, all of them are in that battle, and those guys are going to really struggle to make many overtakes, I suspect, particularly in this early part of the race. The strategies could play a big role if there are going to be any differences in the pit laps between them. Matt T-Boss is pressuring Collider. You can see him there reining in that AlphaTauri. He has quite a bit of battery to use as well. He chases down the car in front in P3, but he can't quite make the move. And as these guys continue to watch out for each other, the top two continue to move away. And also, Gary is really getting down the field. We've got Sway moving past, Noisy, who's slipping back slightly with those hard tires. He is still the leading hard runner, so he may be able to make something of that there. Sway picks up another penalty. We're seeing the coming pouring in now, but up at the front, Gary's caught up to the back of Jorg, and it means now that battle for the win gets very, very interesting there. Jorg has to keep pushing, can't make a mistake, because Gary's in that position where he can easily capitalise on it.
Yep, Gary turning up the pressure on Jorg now for that race lead. And interestingly enough, it looks like Legend is just starting to lose a bit of pace to the guys ahead as he starting to just drop further away, and he's under pressure from B Morgan. He's having a look down the inside. Is he going to be able to pull this off the Renault? They're still side by side. P6 and B Morgan just about gets ahead. And that's Scuba.
Dives to the pit lane, that's early from Scuba. B Morgan also then further up the road, so those two both diving in early, and we'll see what they can make of that strategy call. They're maybe trying to grab an undercut on the car's head. We'll see what tire they're going to go for then, as it is on a knife edge between a hard strategy, and sometimes you may well opt for a medium second step, but both those guys going for hards early on. They are committed to that one stop, no doubt about that. They come out in nice clean air, and we're going to see if they can press a little bit further up the order there. Morgan and Scuba coming out the pit lane, but that's a very early stop then. I was expecting a few more laps before these guys are going to have to come in, but it may well be a good choice. Get some track position on these guys that are staying out a little bit longer, and try and hold on. As we know, as we've stressed early on, overtaking difficult with this track, so getting advantage of the pit stops can be a very viable strategy here.
Yeah, and Scuba already trying to make a move on B Morgan. They were very close through turns 3 and 4, but Scuba has to yield and stick behind B Morgan for the time being. But Scuba not looking to waste any time, wants to get past this Renault and make use of this undercut.
Yeah, we'll see. These guys, they got to make sure that they don't battle too hard, otherwise that undercut's going to be somewhat negated We're going to see what the race leaders are going to do there. York stays out. Gary comes in. Now that is high intriguing. Gary now trying to get one over on his rival for the win in this race. There, Matt T-Boss also came in further back. Down the order then, the rest of the drivers have stayed out even further. So that battle for track position has led to some early stops coming in at the early point in this race. And let's keep an eye out there, particularly where these guys are going to emerge then. As Gary getting up to speed now. He is going to be in perfectly clean air actually. As it turns out, he's been able to make the most of it, and those hard tyres, they are difficult to switch on, so an undercut's not guaranteed. And you can see that Matt T-Boss has been able to maintain a position in front of E. Morgan and Scuba, who may well go to battle throughout the remainder of this lap, because DRS is open, the rear wing now, well, reducing that drag for the Red Bull facing the inside line, but Morgan will defend it, Morgan will hold on to it, will back down the field. Cadbury's is past Tionis, both these guys pitting early. For damage in the opening stages. They're going to try and make some ground going throughout the beginning of this race. But Morgan from Scuba, 15th and 16th. We'll see how they go then if they're going to continue battling. But now, we turn our attentions, I think, towards the front of the race. York's going to have to pit. The question is, can he maintain that lead in front of Gary? I suspect he'll be battling it out on the exit of the pit lane. And wow, I suspect the lead of this race is going to really start holding up here. As York, from the front, does pit then. Where does he come out there? Is he going to beat Gary out?
Well, that is the question, as Ryan and Caladri also follow York into the pit. I believe Legend and Volakongan continuing on, so we're going to go for an extra lap. But where is Gary?
So now, he's going to take off that pit limiter as York did. He's led this. He got pole position. He led the entire race thus far, but he won't lead anymore, I don't think then, or is he? They're going to go into turn one, almost side by side, but Gary sweeps into the race lead then as York spinning on cold tyres. He's dropped it in the Alfa Romeo, and he is out of podium range then, because there goes Matt T-Boss and the Red Bull who's looking at it, but Ryan was able to hold on then with DRS to assist him coming out that pit lane. He does get it at 12th place on the road, but York, what a gutting error. He's going to recover now, and that's going to knock him off then. He's not going to be confident on those tyres now, spinning right at the pit lane. He was maybe looking to try and get back at Gary as soon as possible, but he's got a bit too ambitious on the throttle, misjudged those tyres, now runs down the field. We know he's got phenomenal pace, but he's not going to be able to use it now because he's stuck in a train, and now Gary's been handed a significant lead now in this Grand Prix.
Yep, advantage now with Gary. York, that mistake coming out of the pits into turn one, costing him 3 positions on track, and I mean, we don't know where you'll come up relative to Legend of Volakongan now with that mistake.
Well, let's see, because we do have we're going to have an answer there as Legend does go to the pit lane, but does speed on that entry. You can see he's going to have a stop go. Assuming he doesn't pit again, that's added to his time at the end of the race. We're going to track the McLaren driver though. Where will he emerge? You can see Johansson's a couple of seconds adrift of him then, who's trying to chase him down. And on that older strategy then, out of the pit lane comes the McLaren. He is going to be out though at the back of the train, so staying out a few laps longer hasn't really done much good for him. He has been jumped by B. Morgan and Scuba, and Johansson comes out right behind Cam, who's trying to make progress on those soft tires. Tionis with a penalty, so the penalty's continuing to rack up throughout this race. Looking up the front of the grid though, Gary leads. He's got 2.5 seconds advantage, not quite a penalty advantage, but he is still holding on nice and strongly. You can see up the front though, as Volakongan is maintaining his position up at the front of the race, ahead of his teammate, and you're going to be able to see what his tyres are looking at then, the status that they are in then, and you can see, I'd say it's the rear left tyre, that's got my words eventually then, as Cam gets a penalty, is getting quite close to the limit then. He's going to be getting warnings, he's going to be losing some grip out there in the Ferrari, and you can see him struggling then to hold back his teammate, but he stays out another lap. He may be going for a soft to medium strategy, Mike. That's what I'm maybe anticipating if he's staying out this long. The mediums, it will be a stretch, but we have seen it done in races throughout the week, so maybe he can try and pull this off. But you can see the grip fading away from him as his teammate Isotopic reeling him in, getting right up towards him. The Ferraris may go to battle yet again out there on the track then, as Alonso looks in the mirror further down the field then, as now Volakongan sees that place. He's got almost nothing left in his tyres, surely he has to pit soon.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be in very soon as Volakonga, and he is stretching it a bit far, which does bring that soft medium strategy into question. And those tyres they're going to be much better than the hards early on, but towards the end of the race they're going to be dropping off massively.
Yeah, he is going to be, I imagine, pushing puncture territory going through the end of the race. That was done in Division 1 as Legend, I think, gets a second time penalty in this race, so that's he can't afford to be picking up too many of those in such a tight midfield. He has, and on top of a stop and go as well, so he's now on 11 seconds of time penalties, going to be dramatically holding him back throughout this race. Up the front of the grid though, you can see XL Ryan on a bit of a recovery drive after a below par qualifying, making good progress here, and he's now fighting for that net second place and trying to make this a Williams 1-2. These Williams drivers have really risen to the occasion in this opening race of the season. And after York dropped that, he is still in contention. We know he has a lot of speed, but he is going to have to overtake some cars here if he wants to get back into that second place that he was in before. So he is now lining up, and you can see he's got Matty Botts in his crosshairs, but he is breaking the slipstream as a Red Bull driver. He does not want to give this up. And he's going to struggle to move through here as York, and that's only allowing Gary to control this up at the front end. Collider is just about matching his pace then. That gap is hovering around 2.5 seconds, but Gary's doing exactly what he needs to do then. Holding station up the front of the grid, and now he just needs to try and avoid penalties, not make mistakes, and he's headed for a race winner as long as provided he doesn't make a mistake in the second half of the race.
Yep, Gary in full control of this race right now, and Ryan over the back of Caladri for his net P2. And to quote James, they are excelling here today.
That was utterly terrible, mate. You should be ashamed of yourself. I've heard too many of those as of late. We are watching though. Jorgens, we have yellow flags for the down the field there. That's Legend that's going off. Legend has made a mistake coming out of turn 9. He's dropped behind Johansson now. And yes, so he's dropped well down the field, and a mistake ridden race so far. He has some damage on that car as well for the McLaren driver. Oh, that's absolutely gutting news then. Tionis is going to get up to him as Volakongan finally dives to the pit lane in that Ferrari. Surely it's mediums going on, and the question is now, how much can he make of those in the second stint? Can he chase down that raging battle over second place at the moment?
That is going to be the question. Jorg actually just managing to get past Matt Tibbles, so I was on board with it, and now he has to try and close down that gap to get within DRS of Ryan, because Matt Tibbles will have DRS on Jorg to try and come back at him.
Yeah, but can't quite get through at the moment. You can see them all queuing up behind there. B. Morgan and Scuba are right with this as well. Up in the front, Gary continuing to stretch away. He is running a pretty solid pace at the moment on that last lap. He was a couple of tenths quicker then, about 3 tenths quicker than the second place man, or the next second place man at the very least. So he is driving strongly, even though he's got a lap older tyres, more tyre wear on them. He's driving a very good race as Gary. He's in full control. Jorg may well be the only driver that has the pace to challenge him, but he is still stuck, locked in battle. But he has made one overtake. Can he make 2 more to get himself back into this race up the front, as Matt T-Boss gets a time penalty there for Red Bull? Is going to really set him back then. Collider is holding on pretty nicely up at the front of this battle. Ryan is chasing him all the way, but the AlphaTauri is holding firm, and he is holding strongly there in that second place. And after qualifying 4th for this race, he's driving very solidly so far. Can he keep this going though? He's on for a great haul of points here in this opening race.
Caladri doing fantastic right now, up in the net P2, just hovering outside of that 3-second window to Gary, and obviously that 3 seconds could mean the difference if Gary oversteps the boundaries and picks up a 3-second time penalty. But right now Volakongan trying to come back through the field after going long on those softs. He's made the move on Cam up into 14th, and a 5-second gap now to Scuba and that train for what is the net P2.
Yeah, he's got a lot of ground to make up, but those tyres are going to have much more in them in this early point in the stint, so he can fly through there as Cam getting a bit of oversteer there in the background, trying to contain that car. Currently, Cam does hold the fastest lap of the race, so I'm going to be interested to see what Volakonga can do in his first full lap coming out the pit lane. He is already reeling in that pack in front then, as Jorg looks to be on the move again. You're seeing his class, you're seeing his pace as he chases down XL Ryan then, emphatically so far. He definitely has the best speed, I think, out of anyone in this train, and Ryan, having sat behind Collider for so long, looks to be struggling a bit more to stay within that, and Jorg now is the one, or in the Ascension, chasing down the Williams coming up the road then. As now, up at the front though, this is interesting. There's still drivers out there, haven't pitted yet, and Gary has just caught them. He's on the back of him there. And this is a real interesting point in the race then. Gary's going to have to try and keep it clean out there. Try and get the overtakes done clinically without picking up damage. There's a lot on him there as Cam goes to the pit lane for a second time in the race. But Gary now is going to have to try and make these moves stick very quickly. Otherwise, he could be at the mercy of relinquishing some of that 3.4 second advantage.
Yeah, and another interesting turn of events going on right now. The hard tyres are starting to perform better than the mediums. We're starting to see Ace, Noisy and Alonso closing on the medium runners at the head.
Yeah, you can see these guys also reeling in those top line runners. I'm going to go, speaking of tyre comparisons then, Volokogin was around, give or take, about a second a lap quicker on the last lap. He's lapping in the mid-23s. Everyone in front of him in the mid to high 24s on that last lap. So you can see the pace that he's possessing. Can he keep that momentum going? Because Jorg picks up a penalty, and that's not going to help him in his charge going back to the field. So Collider, Brian and Gary, the net top three in this race, keeping it very, very clean out there and avoiding the mistakes. Ryan seems to have rebounded slightly on this lap in this phenomenal train that stretches at the moment from 8th down to 13th. 6 cars vying for what could be second place at the end of this race. Gary is taking his time and trying to get past him here. He's saved himself for DRS. Now moves to the inside lane. XL Gary's up in a 6th place then. A key move for him then to maintain his advantage up at the front, but he's going to watch out then. Make sure he doesn't relinquish that here. Be clinical. To be honest now, at the session we have a full safety car. That dramatically changes the race here.
Full course safety car, and that is massive for the likes of Isotoptic, Sway, Ace Noisy, Margaret and Alonso.
Yeah, they have been thrown right into this race. That is sensational. And what are those hard and medium runners going to do? This has completely shaped things up then, and it makes Gary's task of winning the race an awful lot tougher. And all of those guys that were running in that net P2 battle, that has all been thrown out the window. So why, oh my, this race has dramatically evolved. And so we're going to see, I imagine, a flurry of pit stops going throughout the remainder of this race. Of course, the race leaders are going to be coming in. And what tyres are they going to go for? Soft seems too ambitious. Legally, they can't go for the mediums. It's going to be those hard tyres that they're going to be sticking on, I suspect. So Isotopic now going to that pit entry, and he does go in. I was thinking for a second he might well stay out, but he does commit to that pit lane, and everyone else is going to follow him in. But it's these guys that have been thrown right into the limelight here. And the question is, for me, is we're going to have a very busy pit lane here under that safety car. But the real question is here, Mike, where will the net race leaders emerge? They may well actually, I think they're going to maintain it. They will maintain their spot at the front of the field, but what happens now is that the drivers behind will have much fresher tyre to use, and particularly those that started on the hard tyres for this race, now going to mediums. They're going to have a huge pace advantage and a real chance of fighting for those high scoring positions.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, I just noticed a Sway and Margaret out on the soft tyres.
Yeah. And so how much is that going to evolve then? Both these drivers, of course, sporting penalties at this stage in the race, but fresh softs. Now, that seems ambitious to me. They are going to be screaming out from under them, I'm sure, coming to the end of the race. But in these early laps, they can gain a lot of track position on some of their rivals, some of the cars around them. And we'll see what they can make of that. So they're going to charge through. Watch out for those guys in the restart. They're going to be some of the fastest cars on track. But really, Mike, do you suspect that they're going to carry that performance all the way through in the 14 laps we've still got to go in this race?
I mean, they are going to be rapid at the start of this. At the start for about 5-6 laps, but then they're just going to start to lose advantage to the mediums and then to the hard runners. And I don't know, I think they they threw a gamble out there by going onto the softs, but I just don't think it's going to be the right call.
They would need the safety car to stay out a fair amount longer. Yeah, they're going to be they are going to be actually making. I'm pretty sure they can't hear us right now. So, oh, they can. Sorry. My apologies. Then we are now back queuing up behind. We are going to wait for a little bit because Legend is some way off at the tail end of the field. So, yeah, they're going to be waiting some time. But this race just got a whole lot more interesting. The advantage the race leaders have on their side, as we mentioned so much throughout this evening. Overtaking, very difficult around here. But particularly with Gary's advantage, he was controlling the race. He was 3 seconds clear. As now, he was wiped out. That advantage has been wiped out. And it means now that Collider on one lap fresher tires can really start to make an impact on the net race leader.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, this also brings guys like Cowboy, like Cam, like Legend, who haven't really had the best of race so far, back into it.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can try and make some progress heading through the remainder of it. We should get back to racing on this lap. Here's hoping, because we did see some pit stops there on that last lap. I think we are going to regroup before the end of the lap, and we can get back to racing, and Gary can control the proceedings of that then. And of course with Australia, he's going to have the whole third sector to his name. There's quite a lot of options for the Williams driver here as to when he's going to go. Coming to you quickly, Mike, when do you think the Williams driver is going to put his foot down and try and create a gap as we get back to green flag racing, hopefully at the end of this lap?
This is crucial for Gary. I'm not sure which is the best spot to really get yourself underway into the safety car on around Australia. For me, it'd be just after the penultimate corner.
Well, of course, drivers will be struggling for traction out of there, so he can maybe make an impact there. Collider is going to be eager. He is going to have to be on his toes there as Gary now begins to back up the pack. And he's got some options available to him. He's still got 3 more corners to the end of the lap then. Is he going to go early here? He's weaving. He's trying to keep temperature on those tyres. It's going to be difficult. They are hard tyres on. And that's something those hard tyre runners are going to have to watch out for then. As Gary goes early on the entry in the turn 15 as opposed to the exit. And he has got away decently there. Collider trying to stay with him, but he's got more pressure from Ryan behind. So Gary leads him away as they head over the line. There's a gap for him behind Ryan there. York's not going at all. As look, an XL Ryan. He's lining up Collider, but no DRS. That's going to hold him back there as Matt as well looking at York. Does not follow through. They're going into the first corner. Ryan though, tucked in the slipstream, going to the outside line. Heading into turn 3. Can he go all the way around the outside then? Still, the inside is held by the Avatar. He's going to run him out wide and squeezes Ryan off the track, and he had to yield it then. Collider fighting tooth and nail, holds on to that second place just about, as Gary's going to look to try and establish that. He's got a 6/10 advantage up at the front of the race. The field still filtering through then. You can see Scuba hassling Morgan, and now the fresher tires for the cars behind is going to come into play. Isotopic is going to try and light up the Red Bull. Can't quite get through. The gas appearing then as Margaret didn't get a good start. He is a second adrift of the rest of the field as they all barrel down now, heading into that third sector. But Gary got away well. He's maintained that lead at the start. Collider's with him, but he does have fresher tyres underneath him, and his tyre wear is still a little bit better at the moment. As you can see there further out, Sway's on the move. Sway's down the inside of Hogan there, gets alongside and past the Ferrari then. As now noises are pulled through into turn 14. That's brave, it's bold, but he forces his way through, and the Ferrari had to yield it. The Alfa Romeo goes through. It was a forceful move, but he does get through, as Sway on those softs is absolutely flying. Now, how's Isotopic? All but lined up then. Does he go for the inside line? The Ferrari will hold on to it, I think, heading into that first corner. But Sway taking momentum through the exit. Up turn 2, and now looking towards the outside line. And it's a drag race towards the third corner on the 19th lap then. Round the outside goes the Mercedes. Can he make that move second? Gets his nose in front. His full car in front of the turn 4. brilliant from Sway. We stressed those tires will struggle to get to the end of the race. That moment he's doing all he needs to do. Running clear, the first collider gets a penalty. That is absolutely crucial. Gary's advantage just got a whole lot bigger up at the front.
Not only that, Ryan is looking very good right now. All he's got to do is just maintain position, and he's got P2 in the bag.
Yeah, everyone around him is nursing penalties. The next car behind him that doesn't have penalties is Scuba, currently down in that 7th place there and struggling to make progress. He's suffering with a bit of dirty air there, going through that turns 11 and 12 chicane. Still so with Sway chasing him down. P8 for the Mercedes driver, looking to make progress early and try and hold on to it in those last few laps when those tires are going to start dropping off. You suspect near the end you can see his braking distance compared to the Red Bull, absolutely phenomenal. He's got so much more speed in that car, but he's going to have to make the most of it. He's going to have to be clinical. DRS enabled as they come over the line will not come into action for the first time before the 3rd sector in this lap there. As I can see the 2 racing points jockeying for possession further down the order then. They filter through turn 2 then. We're 20th lap. Less than 10 laps to go here in Australia. Gary leading comfortably up at the front, collider penalty, and those 2 Williams drivers, their chances of a 1-2 now are stronger than ever in this race. As down the field then, there's a mistake from Isotopic, round goes Volakogan, round goes Modulant then, who's making progress on those soft tires, drifting it through a turn 5. My oh my, what a thrilling battle we got here. Body Avatar was on the front, there's damage, there's contact, further down there, going into turn 6 then. We do have damage, that was Cam picking it up. In the background there is now Legend looking at the outside there, can't get past Johansson, there's a spinner, that is Johansson into the wall and out. We have a VS here on lap 20. What a crazy sequence of events there then.
Unbelievable, it was like Noah's Ark 2x2 heavyweight for those guys.
Absolutely stunning. And so the race is neutralised for a little period of time, with Gary still leading them out then. That is the second neutralisation of the race then. F1 just slotting it to the line as second driver. Unfortunately, Johansson having to bow out of this race. The drivers now filtering through. We have 9 laps to go here in Australia, and still that pack right together. I wonder if anyone's going to look to try and get a good run off the VSC. You can see overtakes there just by timing that run off a little bit better. We'll surely be going to green flag pretty shortly. I can see Scuba going off the racing line, maybe trying to suss out some opportunities to pass. As we head into turn 3 now, we get back to racing then, and the pack still seems to be pretty much intact then. As you can see Scuba lining up Morgan, can't go through his V Morgan, that wasn't quite as quick away from the line as Modular gets another penalty. Sway though, we're going to have to keep an eye on the Mercedes driver. He's still got some life left in those tires. He's chasing down Scuba, chasing down Morgan, but how far through can he get before those soft tires really start to scream out from underneath him?
Yeah, no, just Sway we need to keep an eye on as well. Ace Noisy right behind on those mediums. He is well and truly in this as well. It could be one to go through the field, as his tyres will not be dropping off towards the end of this race. As here goes Sway now over the back of Scuba. Is it going to be close enough? Not this time round.
I think Scuba would have used a little bit of overtake then to make sure he was maintaining that 7th position, but nevertheless, Sway is really in. Look at him chasing down the Red Bull driver, going round now on to lap 22 of the race then. Garrett still leads. He is out of DRS range at the moment, looking very, very strong, very, very imposing at the front of the grid. Are we going to see any moves here then? Heading through turn 2, we're still watching Sway then in that Mercedes, but he's not being able to really find any way to advance throughout that field. It's all sitting pretty static. We have yellow flags. That's Corboy that's going off then, and what has been a really trying evening for the Mercedes driver. Now drops down and to that 16th position then for Merck, and my oh my, yeah, it's not been a good night for Corboy, who'll be looking for better fortunes later on as Sway gets another penalty. That's going to dramatically hold him back. There's Amir, forces his way, going isotopic now. Legend trying to follow through behind her. Legend trying to recover on the McLaren, looks to the inside line, will step back for the time being. but he does have some better tires underneath him. We'll see if he can try and make anything of it. Still, the battles rage on further up the grid though. Jorg is trying to make progress, but how much has that been affected him? He could have been right in contention for this race run. His legend gets yet another penalty. Still Morgan chasing down Magnus. Magnus struggling to hang on to the pack ahead then. He's losing contact, and it could open doors for the Renault and the cars behind him. Puts the pressure on, so Matt's going to have to try and recover, get back to them. Otherwise, he could be at the mercy of several overtaking, attacking attempts from the cars behind, chasing him down.
Yep, Matt, it is crucial that he can keep with Jorg up ahead, otherwise B Morgan, Scuba, Sway and Ace Noisy will be smelling an opportunity to pounce on the Red Bull. But right now he's doing a good job. Ryan closing in. I don't think he's close enough into turn 3. And I think it is how it will be at the moment as Legend is very close to it. Ice atop it in the exit of turn 3, but no moves at the moment as it's noisy. He is all over the back of Sway, and have those soft tyres already gone?
Yeah, you can sense the performance dropping off there. Sway's looking around the noise looking around the outside of Sway. Can he get that one done? Yes, he can immediately. And that's the regression of those soft tyres then. He is already beginning to struggle out there as Sway. Can he get those to the end to at least secure some degree of solid points in this race? But you sense he's going to be under a lot of pressure. Try and move forward. Jorg is on the attack. On XL right up the road, but he cannot get drawn near enough going into the braking zone. But he's resurging now in this race, trying to get himself back into it. Up at the front, XL Gary continues to move away slowly but surely. He's been the class of the field tonight, but can he see it through to that checkered flag then? Collider is holding on, but at the moment it's not going to be enough of Ryan staying in that DRS range and not showing any signs of dropping out of it then. Ryan as well, looking a little bit closer, a bit more threatening, heading through turn 1. But at the moment he's low on his battery, so he's going to struggle to really make much progress as Morgan now on the back of Matt then breaks later but doesn't quite get through, and the man who narrowly missed out on the D3 Championship is hunting down not close enough. But Ryan looks ever more threatening now on the back of Collider as Gary continues to move away. 1.8 seconds clear now up at the front.
Yeah, Gary doing a fantastic job of just managing this race, and since he overtook Jorg at the pit stop phases, he hasn't really put a foot wrong.
He has driven a near perfect race as XL Gary thus far though. So we'll see how that is going to unfold in the dying stages of this race. We are getting right into the business end of proceedings now, and so we're going to have to keep an eye out there. I'm just looking at the warnings. Currently XL Gary does have just one warning. It's Jorg's looking at the back of Ryan. Can't quite get through. Couldn't quite find the gap, but he is threatening. Gary at the moment sitting on just one warning as we're seeing Scuba down the field then on his Noisy gets the move done. And I think it was Noisy actually trying to attack but couldn't quite pull through. But those medium tyres are going to have a lot underneath them. The advantage of the softer tyres, and the fresher tyres just hasn't seemed to have materialised the same way. And the people that led this race early on have actually managed to maintain things and keep their positions up at the front of the field.
Yep, and Scuba is going to be absolutely hating this. Ace Noisy trying to make a move, get himself up the order, but for Scuba this is crucial because he doesn't want to lose too much time, because he could be on for a podium if he can stay within 3 seconds of Caladre up ahead.
Yeah, let's have a look there. See the gap to the leader says the gap is just under 3 seconds then. It's about 2.6, 2.7 seconds. So it's really hanging on a knife edge then, and Scuba doesn't need to be defending, but I think defending is what he's going to have to do then, as it's Noisy looking to the inside lane at turn 9 then. That's tremendously brave with such little space. There's contact between them, but Scuba had to yield it and he had a slow exit, and now Sway's going to try and follow through, and Bullock Hogan is right with them as well then, as they head towards the chicane. This battle is now really hotting up then, as look at Sway still with some grip left in those tyres then. Can he get up to the Red Bull, who's all of a sudden slipped out of that podium? As you were alluding to, now he's going to have much more of a fight for it, and Calidra, they have a much better chance of holding on to it then. Emir is lighting up Margaret. You can see those soft tyres starting to fall away then for both those drivers then. It was a valiant effort, but he couldn't get through. It's now Emir, better contact I think, trying to sweep around the outside in the final corner. Had to run out of road then. He was just forced out of it then. It was a brave run around the outside, couldn't quite get through. We have now Just 4 laps to go here in Albert Park, then here in Australia. And now Amir on Margaret, then trying to chase down the Avatar. Looks to the inside line, doesn't follow through, but the lock up though, and through goes Amir then. The mistake came through, and now Amir up in a 12th place then, but I think 11th place, sorry, thinking though he may have a bit too much ground to make up on the pack ahead to make much of an impact, with them all running at such close proximity on pace as well, closing down even just a 1.2 second gap. It's such a tall order in this division.
Yep, and Ace Noisy, he's already on the back of he's gone off into the wall.
Oh!
Lose little traction, Ace Noisy.
And the Alfa Romeo dropping right down. I think he's definitely got damage then. If he had such a heavy impact on the wall then. Ace Noisy, oh that's gutting. You can see the repercussions now as Amir goes past him. It's B Morgan now. Oh Matt, they're trying to run right into it. He gets forced off the track by the Red Bull. Matt fighting to the nail, getting the elbows out, but he's dropped out of DRS range now. So he's going to be under more and more threat. And speaking of which, York now attacking XL Ryan, trying to hunt down and maybe grab a podium still in the dying stages of this race. But he's not quite close enough as they head into that turn 1 then. And Ryan actually may well be looking for it. But he is going to be content with sitting in that third place. He does have 2 warnings to his name though. So he's going to have to be wary of that he can't afford a penalty, not with the field so close. Gary can afford a penalty. He's far enough clear at this stage. He does make a little error as I say that. It is a bit of a knife edge, but even so, Gary looks firmly in control of this then. Just under 3 laps to go. It's hard to see a way that Gary doesn't win this then. Since the pit stops, he's been imperious, and he's heading to start this season in absolutely perfect fashion and kick off what may well be a championship campaign.
Yeah, and the question is, will Gary be able to keep up this throughout the season? He's been absolutely fantastic here so far in round 1, but it is a long old season, so we'll see if he can keep it up as York picks up another 3-second time penalty, and I think it's going to cost the Alfa Romeo driver as B Morgan around the outside of Matt Tibos again. As they are side by side for the final sector. Can the Renault get it done? No, Matt Tibos keeps ahead of B Morgan, but yeah, you're going to be losing out massively now with that second 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, it's a short spinner in the back, and that's Amir straight into the pit wall. That was a huge impact then as he came over the line, but I don't think a safety car or VSC can be deployed in the last few laps, so the racing is going to continue out there on the track as still B Morgan threatens Matt T-Boss, but still he does not get through, and Scuba trying to capitalise, and he's still hunting for maybe a podium, but it's not going to come through as Alonso around here as an legend gets the move done in turn 4. Brilliant move from the Haas. Now runs inside the top 10 without a penalty as well. He can maybe try and grab a couple of places in the latter point of this race, that he now runs in 10th position out there. In a thrilling Australian Grand Prix, still the action goes on then. And I think now the battle over second, third or fourth may remain static, but B Morgan keeps throwing everything at Matt T-Boss. Can't get through. Can he get through this time though? Lap 28, he's running out of time as the Rhino. Can he get something done then? Pull one of Matt T-Boss and try and pull away to look up for the best result he possibly can get, even with a penalty to his name.
Yeah, and right now, the more Matt Tibos and B Morgan battle, the less that Scuba is going to be able to gain from this, because I believe now the gap is over 3 seconds now.
Yeah, it's actually around about 4 seconds up to Clive. He could still get a top 4 finish there, but maybe not what he was after. We're now on to the final lap here of the Australian Grand Prix. Are we going to see any late moves here? Any late last gasp overtakes? Still, you can see Sway is holding on in those tires in 8th place. So he's done a good job of actually keeping those going to the end of the race. I can tell you now though that he is beginning to push it on those tires. They're getting up towards puncture territory, so he's going to have to try and keep those all on order, hold them all together as we now reach the final stages here, and it's Johansson has gone out of the session. Of course, he's got out of the race altogether, though, so that's not going to make much difference. Look at Jorg, though, as Ryan's making errors in this final lap then. Jorg is chasing him down. He's got 6 seconds of penalty, so he's got to make sure he's getting as much out of this as he possibly can, maximising his race time so he can get something out of it. I think he's going to be too far away to challenge Arezzi. He's chasing down the Williams, going towards turn 13. Has to hang back, though, can't get through, as now XL Gary sweeping through. He has hardly put a wheel wrong here today. Collider's come back to him in his last few laps, but it's not going to be enough. Round the final corner, and Gary is going to open up his season in perfect, tremendous fashion. XL Gary wins the season opener then, and his teammate Ryan is going to back him up in second place then. Collider does hold on to the podium amidst a dramatic reshuffling of penalties then. Scuba fourth, Volakonga gets fifth, Alonso, we barely even saw him race second then in front of B. Morgan seventh, Jorg 8th in the end. 6 seconds of penalties really costing him from Matt. Corbin rounds at the top 10 in the end, and actually good recovery from the Mercedes, who just pips his teammate Sway by 0.08 of a second over the line. That is going to be it then for the first race of the season. It was very, very entertaining, no doubt about that. And you can see Alonso getting driver of the day. Good points in the end actually for him after not the greatest of qualifying sessions or starts of the race. He does recover very, very nicely. You can see though the Williams drivers do end up with that 1-2. Gary, Ryan, Collider, that is going to be your podium, and they will be topping your Drivers' Championship standings after this early point in the season. And is this going to be maybe a bit of an omen for how the rest of the season is going to go, with Gary and Ryan up at the front of the grid? We'll see if they can keep it going throughout the remainder of the season, but that is a perfect start to their campaigns. We'll see if they can hold on all the way through to the end, as then we're going to run through the results then. Gary wins it from Ryan second place, Collider third then, just couldn't quite hold on with the penalties there. And Scuba fourth, Volakonga in fifth, Alonso sixth then. Somehow Alonso ends up in sixth after all that, then after that mega eventful race. B. Morgan is seventh in the end from Jorg and Matty Boss, and Corbin rounds out the top 10 then. Sway is 11th from Margaret in 12th, Legend 13th, Isotopic 14th, Noisy 15th, Cam in 16th, Emir after that late crash in 17th there. Johansson, to be honest, weren't able to see out the checkered flag. That is going to round out the racing for this opening round of the season. And wow, if that's anything to go by, mate, we're in for a very competitive season ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it's going to be another cracker here in Division 2.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see how the rest of the championship is going to unfold then. So don't go anywhere for any of the races. I'm sure that there's going to be fantastic action week in, week out. So please keep an eye out, see how everything is going to be unfolding. The next round, of course, will be coming to you from Bahrain International Circuit. Make sure to tune in there for the Bahrain Grand Prix. That hopefully is going to be another cracker. Also, keep an eye out for all divisions of TTML then. Of course, tomorrow night you're going to be seeing Division 4 and Division 5 going up there. So if you want to tune into that, please feel free. And of course, every Tuesday you're going to be seeing action from Division 1. And every Thursday you're going to be seeing action from Division 2, courtesy of myself and Michael. And of course, you keep an eye out for the Division 3 stream as well. There's a lot to keep up with throughout the next week. I'm sure we're going to have another great season of TTML coming up then. But that's the first round in the books then. And Mike, do you have anything more to add after that race?
Just wondering if we're doing interviews this season.
Oh, I actually, I mean, we can. We can can definitely go ahead with that. Then, if you want to maybe start adding some drivers to the group, that'd be absolutely perfect.
Yep, I'll get on that now.
So we'll see if we can get some of these boys in for the end of it. That was those drivers, of course, all driving. They didn't really have much going on, I'd say, for their races. So they were just able to keep it clean, keep it consistent, and of course they were all rewarded with the highest points being positions from this round. Of course, Gary P1, Ryan P2, Collider P3. Of course, we're just I'm sure Mike is very hard at work in the background for once. I say for once, that's harsh. I'm sorry. But yeah, we're going to get these guys in. Hopefully all three of them are able to get and provide their input on that opening round of the season for Australia. Of course, the Drivers' Championship, not much to report on. It's just going to be the same order as the Constructors' Championship. Yes, that's splendid. We're now starting to get these drivers added to the group. We will be, I imagine, getting them into the party itself very, very shortly.
I'm unable to add them to the party.
Oh, why's that?
Setting in the party.
Oh,
there we go. It's been accepted.
excellent. So we now have XL Ryan, XL Gary as well, joining us alongside. We'll see if we can get Collider in as well, but I guess we'll just go ahead with the interviews then, and we're going to hear from our top two here tonight. First, coming to you, Gary, of course. Of course, make sure that your voice is set to public for both of you. I'm sure it is. Well, that's brilliant. So Gary, brilliantly controlled. Then you had a lot of pressure in that opening stint. Then because York had some great pace, narrowly, of course, won that battle for pole position. What was it like battling with him early on in the race, trying to keep up with him, I suppose? And how relieved were you when he, of course, made that mistake out the pits?
Well, yeah, he had some quite good pace, but to be fair, I found it quite easy. Once first lap was a mess, I can't lie, he nearly pulled a second on me, but after that, I felt like I could stay with him quite easily, so I was quite content staying behind him, and then once he stayed out, I knew I could probably get him on the undercut, and then, obviously, of course, he made that mistake, which ultimately cost him, and made my life a lot easier, because I think it would have been quite close, to be honest with him, but yeah, can't complain if someone else makes a mistake, so I'll take it.
Yeah, of course, after that, you were able to control the race, basically. Just keep it down, just keep it nice and subdued. Then, were there any nerves in there, or did you just feel calm, collected, and just know you have a job to do then? Because you weren't really threatened much at the end of the race, but of course, there's still that possibility that something can work against you, especially with that safety car. So, what was it like, just trying to keep control of the race and keep everyone behind in check?
Yeah, well, I felt like I had the pace over everyone behind me. Anyway, but the safety car, I was sort of worried that the people, if they had fresh mediums, maybe they would have been able to get through the field a lot quicker with the safety car, which didn't happen, thankfully. But yeah, it was fine. At the end, I completely backed off because I had two warnings. I knew Ryan didn't have a pen, and he was in my window, so I was just making sure not to get another pen, a warning even, and just bring it home. So happy to get first win of the season, and hopefully get a few more.
Yeah, and on that note, of course, you had a solid enough season last time out, but of course now with a lot of the top drivers get moving away, I suppose this is a bit early doors, but can you foresee a championship challenge for yourself over the coming rounds?
I'd like to think so. I said last season I could, but yeah, I'm not going to get ahead of myself because I remember last season I had a good start and a good end, but the middle was quite up and down. So if I can just be consistent, I think I can be there come towards the end of the season. So yeah, that's the aim anyway.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Gary. Mike, do you have anything to add?
It was just a fantastic performance today from you, Gary. Didn't look like you put a foot wrong all race. And just want to get your thoughts on the next race, Bahrain. How do you feel about your chances as we go to the desert?
I really like Bahrain as a track. It's not the best track for wheel though, so I expect pad runners like Ryan and whoever else uses pad to be up there. So it might be a bit of a damage limitation, but it's a track I really enjoy. So hopefully it'll go well.
We'll see if you're able to repeat that success of this race. Coming over to our second place finisher, XL Ryan, of course. Then. And Ryan, I think you probably were a bit disappointed with your qualifying result and didn't look like you were able to get a lap in together at the end. So what was your mentality going into the race? Were you confident that you'd be able to fight back?
Yeah, well, obviously I did bottom my quali completely, and I started higher than I expected with the mistake in quali. So I was happy, but I knew my race pace wasn't anything special. So I knew with obviously turn 1 and 2 being quite tight, and hectic at Australia. I was just hoping to avoid the damage, like any damage or contact, and just any positions I could make up on the first lap was honestly a reward. And I think B Morgan and someone else got pushed out wide on turn 2, which is I went straight around the outside, and I think I was straight up to P4. And obviously, I think that just gave me the momentum just to keep going forward, and I was just happier at that stage from where I started.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, I imagine there probably was a bit of worry when that safety car came out. Were you, because of course it gave a lot of other guys that hadn't pitted yet, or just people that were generally further down, opportunity to change the strategies. Obviously, we know Australia, hard to overtake, but are you worried at all about people coming through and trying to threaten your position up there the front?
I was slightly worried because obviously I was looking at the lap that we were on, and obviously the people in front that hadn't pit, and they could have gone on to fresh mediums or hards. But then once I saw where they came out after the pits and they were behind, I think basically most of the top 6 or 7 top runners, I knew I had a cushion. So I knew even if they were, obviously they're going to be faster than myself at the front, I knew that I had barriers for them to get to me. And obviously, like you said, Australia is a hard track to overtake as it is. So it did put me at ease, to be fair, knowing that they were behind a few more cars.
And what do you think your prospects are for the next round of the season? As your teammate has mentioned that he's expecting you to go well there. What are your own thoughts? What do you think of the track, and do you think you can have an even better showing then than you did today?
Well, no pressure, hey. But yeah, like Gary said, on the pad, obviously Bahrain's known to be a pad track. I've got solid pace there. I think again, if I have a decent quali, if I can stay out in front of Gary, I'm happy, because I think my main rival right now is my teammate, and I think I can't complain if my teammate's my main rival. But if I can out qualify him at Bahrain, I'm pretty content at my race pace. I should be able to do all right. So I'm hoping he just bottles it like I did this week.
Mike, anything to add?
It seemed at the end of that race, Jorg was putting you under some serious pressure in the final few laps. But was you at all concerned about going side by side and maybe picking up a penalty and just losing out on P2 there?
So basically, I was in the same boat as Gary. I was on 2 warnings. I was on 2 warnings for quite a long time, and I was just sat behind Caladre. Once he picked up that pen, I was like, right, I'm not gonna force anything, because I know one little hit wide, I'm gonna get a warning here. So I was like, yeah, I'll quite happy sit behind him, and I think I did literally what Gary did. So I was basically like, I was in DRS range of Caladre all the way until the final lap, and I just dropped within like a second and a half, just out of pure like panic. I knew Jorg was pressuring me, but I was like, if he even attempts to go around the outside, I was like, yeah, you can have that. I am holding on to my no pens around Australia, because that's a miracle as itself, if anyone knows me in my pen situations.
It's a bigger achievement than the P2, I think.
Yes.
I don't think we're getting our P3 finisher in here, unfortunately, so that may well be all we have time for here tonight. It's been a fantastic night of racing yet again. Very excited for how the rest of the season is going to unfold. And just coming to you quickly, Mike, what are you thinking about? What are your expectations for the next week when we go at it?
Well, based on our performance this week, I'm expecting a very tight championship all the way through to the final round. I think it's gonna be one for the Bucks.
Well, let's certainly hope that that's going to turn out to be the case. So to everyone that's tuned into the stream, thank you all very much for watching, and we hope we'll see you all throughout next week. But with I think everything said and done, that is going to be it then for the first round of TTML Division 2 for Season 3 at Australia. That is going to be it then. So, I'm Daniel Hogard, alongside me in the commentary box has been Michael Edwards, and until next time, we'll see you later.
if that's the last thing that I could do.
This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want now. This ain't what you want. Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I whip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
Yeah, you better listen. I'm bringing heat, you'll be a